Over the last few days, I've watched literally dozens of YouTube videos on how to hold the right wrist in position through impact, get ball first contact, delay the uncocking of the wrists, all kinds of things like that. Hey guys, the golf swing is complicated because you're overcomplicating it. This is not any kind of language you would talk to, let's say, a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old child just getting into golf. So right after this, let me give you one simple tip that's going to demystify all these things that so many people are looking up on YouTube because their contact isn't very good. Well, this is going to be the simplest tip ever. It's going to help your contact, it's going to give you more power, and it's just going to be the simplest thing in the world. So stay tuned. Hey, this is Steve with HitItLonger.com. I continue on my journey to hit the ball longer and straighter than I ever have before, and I hope to show you how to. All right, so we know that the best players in the world, or let's say our good player template or good player database, they all arrive at impact with the wrist slightly in this position. This is true. The club leaning ahead anywhere between, say, 2 and 5 inches. On an iron, maybe nothing or minus on a driver, but we've got this is a truth, striking ball first and turf second, with the turf sweep being ahead of the ball. These are all truths, but how to get this? If this was that difficult, nobody on tour would ever have made it on tour. I promise you that they had this when they were 6 or 8 years old, when they first started to play. And they didn't need any complicated YouTube video. They didn't just get lucky either. They weren't told to hold this angle, delay the uncocking of the wrists, purposely get forward lean, purposely hit ball turf second. That is not what any of them were instructed to do when they were little. It was very simple back then. Just turn back and whip the club. Turn back, whip the club through. If you simply, we're going to use this speed whoosh because it can hear a louder swoosh and it's got a nice little kick to it, so it makes really apparent where the kick of the shaft is occurring. If you can just simply learn to whip the club through, just like you would tell a child to, or even a child learning how to hit a baseball. You don't give them any instructions on how to stay back or how to do this or that, but instead just tell them, get your hands fast, whip the club with freedom. And in the case of golf, we just simply want to locate, let's move this back a little bit. We want to simply learn how to locate the swoosh. That's all. We want to make sure that we're going to freely, as freely as possible, make the club swoosh or whistle about 30 inches out in front of the ball. Now, I'm going to take a swing with this club. It's going to be free. It's going to be fairly fast. My intent is just to make a swoosh sound very loud about 30 inches out in front of the ball. So check this out. And we're going to look at this in slow-mo, and you're going to see if you do this and you make this, it's such a simple intention. Anyone can say point right there. Okay, I want you to swoosh right there. Not here, not here, right there. 30 inches past the ball. We'll look at it in slow-mo and you'll see everything that you've been trying to do with your wrist and your turn and all that is going to be solved. This is so easy. Here we go. And one more. Okay, so I might even embellished a little bit, and I might have even swooshed out here a little bit further than 30 inches, which is also fine, because in slow-mo, which I'm going to show you now, super slow-mo mode, I'm going to show you, look at as I come into impact, in order to get my swoosh past the ball, I will have to have turned my body. I'm rotating my body, rotating my chest to face the target. I'm shifting my weight completely over to my left foot. I'm not trying to time an angle or hold an angle. I'm not trying to purposely create forward lean. These are byproducts. These are symptoms when you just simply turn and swoosh out in front. In fact, if my intention is here, out in front of the ball, I can start the whipping action back here. Because my body is turning, the response or the swoosh, which is the loudest when it reaches, the shaft splits my arms back up to my sternum. And both arms are straight for the only time in the swing, 30 inches past the ball. That is the magic point. And you can see, looking back at that video one more time, the slow-mo, yes, my wrist at the moment I'm passing this ball is pinned back. That is a photograph. That is not a video. That is not truth or reality, what is happening at that wrist. Currently at the wrist, I am applying force to flap it. So I am coming out of this position rapidly. It was my intention to do this starting back here. I'm trying to go in from an dorsiflexed or extended right wrist position into a slight flex position, just like I would fling a ball or hit like a racquetball racket, fling it like that. No delay. You'll see that you can start to apply a force, a dynamic, a fluid force, not a photograph. This is why a lot of you out there struggle so much with your distance. You get all these mechanical thoughts in your head and you start trying to swing to a photograph. You at impact trying to reach this wrist position. You have to slow it down in order to consciously or even to visually see that wrist position. There's no way that you can control or see that. You just are timing this move, straightening of the elbow and the whipping of the wrist through the ball, and simply the act of intention, 30 inches ahead, automatically gets you downward strike, forward divot, wrist in the correct position, elbow in the correct position, the correct amount of forward lean. Everything is automatic, and now all of a sudden you're able to speed your swing up 5, 10, even 20 miles per hour simply with the intent of thinking fast, free, swoosh out in front. Here we go. That is how a child learns to swing a golf club if they're ever going to be any good. And they do it over and over and over. They get faster and faster, and they develop the coordination behind it, and all the body parts will just fall into place. Turn, back, shift the weight, swoosh. That's all a child has learned how to do. I'll bet you 90% of all the tour pros acquired their swing just like this, and it probably took them 5-10 minutes. The first time they picked up a club and had that basic instruction, just whip the club. In this case, we're going to learn how to whip it out in front. Now, here's an asterisk. For those of you who have a really especially hard time with getting scoopy, hitting behind the ball, hitting it really high and short, and you see your wrist in this position with maybe even a backwards lean at impact, you can simply modify this exercise. Instead of 30 inches out in front of the ball, of course, it's coming back around to the left a little bit as well, because remember, the golf swing is an arc. It's not a line. You're not going to follow through straight. You're going to follow through 30 inches out in front on a curve. So if you have a difficult time with your divots, with your power, you can increase that as much as even double is what I'll recommend to my students. There's 30 inches. There's 45 inches. There's 60 inches. So if I make a swing that's 60 inches out in front, let's take a look at one from both angles here. I'm going to swing 60 inches, almost to the point where I'm pointing the club at the target when I hear it swoosh. Something like this. Now you look at that in slow motion again, and you can see how much weight I've got to shift. I've got to be totally on my outside of my left foot. I've got to be facing around to the target when the club reaches the ball, and you see I've got massive forward lean. Look at the forward lean on that shaft and how my wrist, well, it is currently, yes, at this angle from a photograph perspective. But that is not the action. The action is this. You're just catching it in a photograph at a certain spot. But you got to think in terms of video or fluid or dynamic, swinging, whipping, not in terms of holding. Nobody is holding force. No good player is holding their wrist in this position. They are not holding at all. There is not a action to hold the club. They are flinging, and you just happen to catch them in a photograph right there if you stop a video. Don't get fooled by that. Don't get overcomplicated. Keep it simple. Turn back, turn through, swoosh the club out in front, and it'll take care of everything for you. Let's look at it from this angle. You're going to see the arc continues. 3 feet arcing. Keep swinging back around the arc. It's an arc, not a straight line. It's not a straight line. Around the arc. Take a slow-mo look at this angle now. One more with better balance. Just whipping the club, trying to whip right here. And you see in that video how much rotation and weight shift there is. If you're missing these things, it's a great way to trick yourself. Reverse engineer more shifting and turning into your swing. I've seen this with so many, hundreds of students. They simply can't believe what they look like on video when they do this drill. It's so different. Forward lean, rotation. If your swing is on slightly the wrong circle, then we can work on this after that. But get this down. It's so simple. Go out in your backyard with a driver or even an alignment stick, anything that will make a swoosh, and start swooshing. Making a swoosh means that you're throwing. You're whipping the club head. It shouldn't feel in control. If you are feeling any control, you're doing it wrong. You're squeezing too tight. You're trying to consciously control the motion. This is simply where you're turning control over to gravity. The gravity of the circle, throwing it around the circle, and what you might call the centripetal force, the circular forces that keep the club whipping on the same plane or the same circle all the way through. Don't hinder those. Whip it out of control. That is the number one lesson I have to give to golfers who are higher handicaps because they can't hit the ball very far. Same thing for people who have overanalyzed the swing. They're pretty good golfers, but they're not hitting it far. They're struggling with control. They're struggling with club face. Get this first, then we can work from there. Hey, if this simplified things for you, you got some benefit out of this video, I hope you'll like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. Please go out and check out my website, hititlonger.com, where you're going to get over 100 more free video tips and articles that I'm sure are going to help you improve your golf game as well. And as usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.